guys. I appreciate everybody in attendance. Looks like we have a few people still coming on board, so I wanted to show you guys a few things about your interface real quick. Sit and Learn webinar series is sponsored by Stand and Stretch. We put together these webinars to sort of educate the community and let people know how these online spaces can help your business. Today we're talking about LinkedIn, which is really just one of my fun networking sites. It is the professional networking site to be on. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. So right now, if you would, take a moment and look around the environment. You'll probably notice that there is a control panel. I'm going to ask a few questions and we can test this right now. For example, does everybody see where the raising your hand thing is? If you are, click it and raise your hand. Awesome. I see some people raising their hand. That's cool. I'm gonna ask a few questions every now and then, and hey, raise your hands and we'll see how that works. I appreciate everybody's patience. We're going to be waiting just a few more moments. And I'll just tell you a little bit more about today's webinar. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn, how it's used for several different things, including growing your business, making connections. We're going to look at the new profile. Some people might not know that there's a new LinkedIn profile that's becoming available. It's being rolled out. So we're going to talk about some professional tips. We're going to talk about my LinkedIn a lot. We're going to see a lot about what Lucas is doing on LinkedIn. I think that LinkedIn for me is a professional net that captures people's attention when they first are introduced to me. And if they find me on LinkedIn, it's a great, wonderful precursor. We're going to talk a little bit about that. If you have any, we've picked up some questions from Facebook, and so I've laid out some questions throughout the webinar. We're going to be looking at that. And then I also have some polls, some interactive polls. They'll be asked in just a few moments. Looks like we got a few more people coming to join us. On the other side of things, you can see that there's a question. So we're going to be talking about the opportunity for you to ask independent questions and sort of just get an idea about what we're flowing in and out of. And I don't want to get anybody to get stuck. So you have the opportunity to say, hey, stop, go back. Can you explain that in more depth? And we have Jamie with us, and we'll be introducing her in just a moment. So cool. Looks like we got enough people here. I want to go ahead and get started. Thanks again for everybody showing up. You can follow up with this at sitandlearn.biz. You'll see that URL throughout. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, LinkedIn is almost at 200 million people. And I want to just kind of walk through some of the ideas that we've put into place as far as strategy, profile optimization, some basics. Some people on the webinar might not know everything there is to know about it. So I'm going to walk through some stats just real quick. I love the stats part of this. I really use the stats as the bait to get you interested in knowing what LinkedIn means to your professional persona. And then, of course, as always, take a moment while we're getting involved and tweet out to Twitter and say, having a great webinar with Stand and Stretch, hashtag sit and learn. So trying to capitalize on some Twitter things here. So I thank you again, and we're going to get right started into the intro. You'll see here Lucas Shaffer, that's me right there, the guy holding up his hands. And if you could see me in my office, my hands are in the air. I am very, very into moving around while I'm talking. Would you also notice Jamie McConnell? She's on board with us. Are you there, Jamie?
I'm here. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'll be answering any questions you've got throughout the webinar, so feel free to type in anything, and I'll try to handle those.
Very good. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. So she's on board. She'll help organize some of the things that are going on here. The sponsor of the webinar is Stand and Stretch. So Stand and Stretch has been grateful enough, it's funny, but has been grateful enough to allow us to put together an online webinar, put together all the pieces, the reporting, the marketing that goes behind it, and then the attendance. And I appreciate everybody again for showing up. And we're an interactive marketing agency geared around web, mobile, social, advertising, and print. So thank you very much. So let's talk about LinkedIn. This gets us geared up into our first poll. I want to go ahead and launch that while I talk about this a little bit. We have LinkedIn is a social networking site geared towards companies and industry professionals. Do you have a LinkedIn profile already? So you can see here, click yes, no. And for those people who are not sure, thank you for attending. So we'll see. We have a lot of people, looks like This looks good. About 86% of the people have voted, so I'm going to share this poll to everybody. Looks like everybody that on board today that participated in the poll has said a resounding yes, we have a LinkedIn profile. So that's good. So maybe I can go into more of the strategy part. LinkedIn, again, is geared towards the professional personas where the members can create customized profiles, detailed employment history, what I call the living resume, business accomplishments, and other professional accolades. Some of this is geared towards a piece of the puzzle where even students that don't have a lot of professional history still are able to build out a very nice resume with LinkedIn. So our next stat going into LinkedIn, nearly 1 in 2 companies are doing their online due diligence for prospective job candidates. This is one of the characteristics of a LinkedIn profile. If you're out there, people are going to be looking for you in a recruitment sense. So I want you to remember that if you go out and tell all of your employees or all of your team members to go update and do all the things that we talk about today, there is a chance that a recruiter might try to get them and offer them wonderful things. So this is not to set up your team to leave, but it's to make sure that everybody's doing the right first impression for their professional persona. So that's something to consider. In the business world, 41% of the people who have generated business has used it for marketing. You'll notice that some of them are using it for job hunting. And then, of course, the majority of what LinkedIn is a recruitment opportunity for businesses to look for professionals that are in the zone, that are doing some good things. We'll look at an actual recruitment email that I received. And I make it a part of this because I think it's a measurement of whether or not your LinkedIn profile works. I have an occasional email, maybe once a month, that really sparks interest in me. And I tell you, if I didn't have such a cool thing going on with Stand and Stretch and the things that we're doing, I would be inclined to saddle up and move out to San Francisco or go to Atlanta and do some cool things. So I'm going to show you what that recruitment looks like when you're doing the profile correctly. So again, hiring is one of the biggest things. You'll see that Harris Interactive did some great research with Career Builder, finding that 45% of the HR professionals are using social networking to research job candidates, with an additional 11% planning to implement some social media tactics. So the idea is, over half of the HR recruitment part of LinkedIn is looking for people out there. So that's one of the focuses. So let's switch it back and talk about how you can build LinkedIn into a business structure. So what's going on inside of LinkedIn? This is the state of LinkedIn. The last number, as you see, this number keeps going up as I do this presentation. 187 million registered members. For those with great eyesight, you can actually read these, but I'm going to go over just like the top 5 or 6 of these. Of course, high tech has the most users per the United States market. Finance on top of that. You can see by a big lead, high tech's out there. Finance is second, manufacturing third, medical, educational, consumer goods, recreational, corporate. This structure is an industry breakdown of those registered users, just a good biopic of what LinkedIn represents. So if you're in agriculture, it might not be a great opportunity for you to be on LinkedIn, even though I still think it's probably a necessity. Very cool stuff. So out of those industries, what job functions are taken up mostly inside of LinkedIn? So if you're in one of these positions, including sales and marketing, engineering, you are going to find the most of your colleagues and other professionals in your area in this zone. And you can see very down in the small cracks of this, you'll see the product and the biz development. You have the academics, operation, IT, finance taking over majority of the job functions that are available that are showing from the available public profiles of LinkedIn members. So getting into some of the basics of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has roughly 21.4 million unique visitors a day from, I think that's actually a month from LinkedIn's reports. This is a look at the new LinkedIn homepage. It looks very similar to the old one, but I took a screenshot of this last night. You can see some differences here. If you take a look down that center column, you have what I call the news feed. a very commonplace feature of something like Facebook and Twitter. This is other people that you've made connections with, what they're doing. You can see that we have some interaction through people connecting to other people, posting of information. You can see LinkedIn today trying to recommend news directly for me. On the right column, you can see that people I might want to connect with, an advertisement, who's viewed your profile. So 7 people have viewed my profile in the last 3 days. And I popped up in the search results 12 times. So how do we increase those numbers? How do we create the awareness of your expertise in certain areas? And that's what we're going to get into next. So new LinkedIn profiles, this is the sample profile that they are showing everybody. You'll notice it has sort of a modern, everything's sort of grouped, sleek look. And in just a few moments, I'll show you some of the things, some of the ideas I put into my personal LinkedIn profile, and you'll see how this kind of differs a little bit. There's a lot of flat colors in this, what I would call pastels, being drawn the attention of a more modern, sleek look. So I got a second poll here I want to throw out there for you. And basically it states that what do you think of the new LinkedIn profile sample? Personally, I like it. I think that there's some attribute in organization and getting away from what you'll see from what my profile looks like is once you do start filling it out and putting a lot of information into it, it can get a little bit robust. So let's see what we said here. Looks like a lot of people are digging it. There's some people that are saying that's okay, but we have a lot of people that are liking it, so that's really great. One of the things that we had a question pop up on Facebook, so I want to take a moment here and point this out. LinkedIn has just started something new with the new profiles rolling out in the past, I'd say probably the past 4 to 5 weeks. I've been using it, and as a business strategy, this has got to be one of the most important things you take away today. I usually spend a lot of time talking about the recommendation cycle. You have to give to receive. I've accumulated over 26 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile that are written by professionals in the area, and I appreciate the ones that I get and I don't have to send a request for or ask relentlessly. But I feel like the recommendation cycle is you ask and then you give and then you receive. One of the greatest new things about the new LinkedIn is the endorsement features, and everybody's sort of seen this. It's the skills and expertise recommendations. If you go to somebody's profile, it says, hey, we have 3 different things that are built around SEO, training, online marketing, and it says, would you like to endorse this person for these skill sets? And Cheryl, this is great because your question actually links right in this. That's why I put the question on here. Let me tell you what happens when you endorse somebody. This is the greatest thing that's next to email marketing, that's next to the recommendations that I'll talk about in just a minute. But if you actually take the moment to endorse somebody through the skills and expertise recommendations, you'll actually get the opportunity to get them an email sent into their mailbox instantaneously, letting them know that, hey, Lucas just said something really nice about you. He said to the public and to the world that you are good at social media marketing. You are good at web design. These recommendation emails come to me, and in turn, I go out and endorse the people who are endorsing me, and it turns into this wonderful cascading waterfall of niceness. So we have the opportunity to look at the endorsements and as an opportunity to make connections. If you're in a market and you're trying to reach out to somebody who's already a connection of yours, but you're having trouble, this might be an opportunity to visit their profile and endorse some of their skills. Now, it's wonderful because I think the subject of the headline, the subject of the email actually says, Lucas has endorsed you for these skills or has done something amazing for you. So there's that already setting you up for, well, what can I do amazing for this person? So you can see here, this is what my skills and expertise looks like over the past 5 weeks, just going out and visiting these people's profiles and saying, you're good at this stuff. And that comes back to me in tenfold. So how to endorse them, just visit their LinkedIn profile page, and right above their head, their profile picture, right above their headline, you'll see a box. Sometimes it used to say, would you like to complete your profile? And you, of course, say, no, I don't want to. I'm not touching my profile right now. I'm just here to make a connection. Whatever those excuses may be. Now you'll see there's an opportunity to endorse people on the singular level, and if you visit their profile, you can actually endorse them multiple times by clicking the plus button in their endorsement area. So this is a new feature for LinkedIn. This is every time you do this, you send an email to them, making them a very happy person. Matter of fact, if you're wanting to do something like this now, please go visit my LinkedIn profile and endorse me. Woohoo! Okay, cool. Let's move on. So LinkedIn suggests that 40% greater chance of networking success if you complete your profile 100%. Yep, 100%. So we always see that there's like a 90%, a 75%. It's asking you these wonderful things, and you just need to fill them out. And LinkedIn suggests that you'll have a greater percentage of marketing yourself or your business to other people if you have 100% completion on your profile. You'll see here my profile's on the right. I have a headline. I have tons of information here, and we'll talk about a little bit more as we go. So what are some profile tips that I would recommend? Just like any good content strategy used for website design, for Facebook marketing, for blogging, you got to have some things set in place. So when it comes to the question that you see on the board, going over some ways businesses can use LinkedIn pages as a marketing tool, sort of like Pinterest and Facebook. One of the greatest marketing tools for LinkedIn for me is to be able to encounter new connections and have them know that I am a professional and these are my sets of skills. So putting together some type of content strategy and then using those inside of these first little areas. For example, using a professional image. We are very casual at Stand and Stretch. We do not have sort of a corporate dress code. It's part of our charm, so to speak. So when somebody sees this picture of me, I hope they feel disengaged in the corporate structure, and they're coming to hang out and talk about some things that we can do with their business. So I'm going after something there. A compelling headline, 120 characters at the top of your profile is sort of like either say it very concisely, or as you can see here, I've used the word experienced, interactive, marketing, architect. So basically those 4 words have put in so much information. I'm experienced. Part of our target market is interactive. We do marketing for these market spaces. And I'm an architect. So I'm not a producer, digital builder. I'm not a thing. I draw the plans and I create the opportunities of marketing inside of interactive spaces. So, and then I also added with a slight hint of nerd to diffuse the toughness of what architect stands for. So I'm playing at 2 different compelling points of this headline. Also listing current positions, at least 2 past positions is sort of a minimum that LinkedIn's going to make you do. So you can see here, I had some feedback from this when my lawyer actually went and visited my my LinkedIn page when I first met him, and we were sort of connecting on those professional levels, and he saw my LinkedIn profile. He says, "Lucas, I couldn't even read it all. How did you have time to do all of this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I've had a LinkedIn profile for over 5 years now, so I come back in and I touch it up and do what I say." Going into the living resume aspect, and as I get a new job, as I get a new thing, as I start a new business, I go in here and I fill up the information. So you can see here that I've really done a good job at listing at least past positions into a definitive state. So I'm experimenting. I'm always experimenting with LinkedIn. I read somewhere from another LinkedIn webinar, and a guy that I follow, Lewis Howes, he does some great things with LinkedIn and wrote a couple books about it. One of the things I picked up from that was that the summary is almost like an opportunity for you to get into someone's head. So what you see here is I've actually switched my summary around to third person. So instead of I am leading a team of professionals at Stand and Stretch, I'm making the behavior of the person that's reading this in that person's mind saying the name Lucas Shaffer. So Lucas Shaffer is leading a team of professionals. Lucas Shaffer completed his master's and so on. And as a newlywed, Lucas blank. And so I'm always using Lucas, and I switched all of the tense around to third person. And so everything kind of mirrors what somebody would be reading about, what somebody wrote about me. So there's some behavioral mechanics that are going into this. I want them to understand my name, be comfortable with it when they see it in other places. And I didn't want it to feel like there was that I was preaching to them. I am good at this, I am good at that, I am this, I am that. So I'm just experimenting. It's been highly successful. Matter of fact, my LinkedIn profile shows up on the front page of my search engine results when you type in Lucas Shaffer. So inside of that content strategy, I've been able to identify some keys that have helped grow my LinkedIn connections quite substantially. I've also listed out my specialties. This has now become known as skills and expertise, but there is still an area for specialties, and it's a section that utilizes customer-focused keywords. So yes, this is also searchable. So when Walmart comes searching for someone to help with their communication channels, they might tag onto one of these specialties and then connect with me, and we'll see just in a moment how that works. LinkedIn profile tips. We're still in that same zone. Giving recommendations first. Here's sort of a list of some of the things that we've been able to achieve as far as getting recommendations. I always write recommendations, or most of the time write recommendations, and then receive them. There's a higher return rate than just putting out bold requests. Also, the interest groups and associations. It's a big part of most people's LinkedIn because it allows you to organize in other professional networks. So why have a professional online persona if you cannot mingle with other online professional personas? So the groups, interests, and associations are places you can go mingle and talk and communicate about industry or market specific ideas. So you'll see listed there .NET developers, Adobe software users, down to the Columbus, Georgia Young Professionals group. So there's really some great places. The Columbus State University alumni, very cool stuff there. So I talked a little bit about what I call the living resume. I recently was able to help out at a workshop at the CSU Career Center, Columbus State University's Career Center, and I was able to get inside and communicate effectively. I had some research done prior, and as of 2009, I believe it was, the profile export feature from LinkedIn has now become known as a standard format for resumes. So it's very interesting to know that you don't have to support your cover letter a branded, a very specific resume per job. In most cases, it's nice to just do a cover letter and then, hey, follow up with me at linkedin.com/my username. Very common to see this take on the new approach for resume submission, and companies are actually in some cases requesting LinkedIn profile URLs, the actual landing page for your resume or for your LinkedIn profile. But I call the living resume, I call this the living resume because it has the opportunity to continue to grow with little manipulation throughout the year. And yes, I said year. If you go out there today and say, man, so much information I need to put into my LinkedIn profile, you're gonna start writing mush, and you're not going to be good at it. My recommendation is to take some time a week, some type of month, a regular schedule of updating information out here. Are you working on a new project? Did something change in your life? Did something that's professionally apparent go on? Then I would go out there and make some adjustments to it. All the while, if you go through and try to export my living resume, my LinkedIn profile, it's a little over 11 pages long. So you get into the ideas of, well, I've been trained that 1 to 2 page resumes are the dynamic. It's going to get me hired. Too much information is going to lose attention. Well, it depends on what company you're going after. I know I scan through LinkedIn profiles meticulously. So, and HR departments will do that too. So here's an example of what the export looks like. So you can see it's pretty standard. I'm just going to kind of fly through some of this stuff. So I have another poll here. Let's see what I got going on. So here's a quick poll. How complete is your LinkedIn profile? Are you just getting started? You're almost halfway? You're 100%? You're a little bit over half? Or where are you falling into this category? And, it looks like we're getting some great, just all over the board answers. So about 73% of you are finished up voting. So just two more seconds here. Awesome. So let's take a look. Looks like we got everybody across the board here. When we look at 42% being, in that good area where not all of it's done, but that's good. I think that's wonderful. I think looking at this, we have some of the people just getting started. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you guys for sharing. So let me talk about this for a minute. We had I call this a successful LinkedIn examples, a LinkedIn recruitment example. This is where somebody has searched for my profile, whether it be a business owner from another market, whether it be somebody that's looking for somebody in web design or social media or online marketing. They found me and said, hey, we know what you're doing. We want to try to recruit you away. And I saved this one because it's so cool and I wanted to share it with you. When you're doing these things correctly, you get emails like this. I'm not kidding you. So one of the things you'll notice is that this recruitment example is actually from Walmart's Career Opportunity Center. It's for a senior manager, community and content. But what you'll notice, why I saved this one, is because they made no bones about how much the compensation was going to be. This job was a six-figure salary with 30% incentive with 25K in equity. So it was like, I was 6 months in the stand and stretch, right? So I took it to my wife and showed my wife, and she was like, all right, we're going to Bentonville. And I was like, no, we can't do that. We got to do, I want to live the stand and stretch thing and help the small businesses in our area. So you got the idea that I've gotten several of these from AT&T, from just across the board on looking at how well my profile is snagging these high profile recruitment examples. So, at some point I got really happy and I was like, all right, I'm doing something right. I got the little guy going, yeah, success. This is actually a common internet meme. This little guy is pretty cool. But this is my response. I'm not going to spend too much time on harping about this, but at some point you have to make some decisions about what you want to do with your life. And at this point, I made a decision to stick it out and work with Stand and Stretch. But when it comes down to marketing, optimization of your LinkedIn profile is key. There's some opportunity here for you to list inbound to your website, so that when people go to your LinkedIn profile, they follow up to your business, which is key. If you don't have your business linked to your LinkedIn profile, then you're losing the opportunity of somebody to find you and then learn more about your business, which I think in a small community, and let's just target on Columbus, for example, this is great for when it comes down to somebody who wants to know about who Lucas Shaffer is and what his companies do. I think I'll talk about that in just a moment here, actually. Yeah. Include a link to your Twitter profiles. This is a great inbound opportunity for you to get a growth in your social media networks. You'll see that I'm actually listing my blog, my personal website, Stand and Stretch. I'm able to edit the display names for the website, so that's very important. And then also the Twitter handles. You'll see I have a cool couple of Twitters that I'd like people to follow and join me. So the main business-to-business strategy that I want to talk about is connecting with colleagues. This is where it gets really simple, and some of you are probably going to say, well, duh, that just makes sense. But this is how important this connecting with the colleagues part is. And of course I have a little message from Tommy here. Thank you for using Facebook to interact with us. I have only used LinkedIn to connect with colleagues. Can I also use it to help grow a small business? If so, how? What are some good techniques? Thank you. I appreciate the question, Tommy. One of the great things that I was able to do 2 years ago with LinkedIn was start to connect with other business owners. My business helps other businesses, so my demographic is very small. I really can only market myself to other business owners. So if you look at Columbus as 250,000 people total, I know that's probably off by 50,000, but you have to look how many of those people are business owners. Maybe 6,000, I think, was the 2011 was the number of business license renewed and applied for, 6 to 7,000. So really, I need to be getting at people who are business owners. So I used LinkedIn and went after them. Every place I knew, and I've grown up in Columbus for a while, so Wade's Linen, I went, everywhere, every small business I could find, business owners searching Columbus, business owner, bam, bam, bam. If they were in a marketing department for a company, I want to link up with them because I think our marketing tools can help an overall marketing team for another company succeed. So I went after this very hard and was able to really just connect to business owner after business owner. And it didn't become apparent to how successful this was until after several different occasions. So let's just walk through that line real quick. I friend a colleague that, I connect with somebody who's a business owner. Wonderful. They get the, hey, Lucas wants to connect with you email. Now they are opening up, do you want to view the profile? Now they're viewing my profile. And because it's 100% complete, because of the keywords that I've put in there that are centered around my marketing for my company, for myself, they're going to find information that they're going to cling on to very quickly. Lucas is leading the professionals of people that help small businesses grow. That's all they get from my LinkedIn profile. They see the picture, they go, oh well, he's not alarming me by being, he doesn't look expensive because he's not in a suit and tie. This guy looks like somebody I went to high school, went to college with, whatever it is. There's the LinkedIn profile that was set up to be built to be the first impression of somebody that I just tried to connect with, that was in my marketing demographic, and I was going after them. So you can see how that is an amazing feat for LinkedIn. Now, one of the greatest things that happened, like I mentioned, were the occasions of meeting the people later on. I remember very, very vividly being in the Midtown Business Association, which is a great organization for businesses in Midtown. We had the opportunity to pull together sort of a meeting. We were getting together, talk about a few things, and I had somebody come up to me and says, "Hey, Lucas, it's nice to meet you." And I go, "Hey, how are you doing?" So there was an opportunity to think about, and hang on, sorry, okay. I had a chance to meet someone in the MBA meeting, and they came up to me and said, "Hey, Lucas, how are you doing?" And I said, "Great. Hey, it's nice to meet you. What's your name?" And he goes, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm owner of this business." And she said, "About a year ago, you friended me on LinkedIn, and I've been following all your status updates on LinkedIn." So, one of the coolest parts is that we are able to pull together information. He basically had my first impression. I didn't have to tell him anything about my business. I didn't have to tell him who I was. My LinkedIn profile had already done the work. He had presented himself to me as a business owner interested in learning more about what I do, and what Stand and Stretch can offer. So I win during this situation because I allowed LinkedIn to do my marketing pitch for me. So there's some great techniques in connecting with colleagues, and I'm glad I was able to get all that out. So cool. Let's move on to the next one. I'm not a big fan of job hunting on LinkedIn, basically because it's so expensive to do so, and only companies that you could see here, big companies, Aflac, and are able to put out job queries out here. But there's an idea that you have the opportunity to go out and do some wonderful job hunting. Usually these jobs are going to be in the higher range on management, more expertise, skills, more years are going to be needed to go after these college degrees. There's the idea that it's very kind of closed off. It's not going to be an opportunity for you to find a part-time job and make ends meet or do whatever that needs to go on. But I wanted to touch on it. It's great for job hunting. Keyword searches, you can search your relevant position in the United States where you want to grow. It depends on all your needs. So I have another poll real quick, just a fast one. Let's see here. It says, will you consider spending more time on LinkedIn after this webinar? I hope everybody sees some potential in revisiting their LinkedIn profile in the near future. You got to talk about what LinkedIn means to your marketing space. The slide that I actually have up right now actually represents the one thing that we all are running low on, and that is time. So let's take a look here. It says 91% of you guys see the potential. That's great news. I really appreciate that. There's some maybes, and let me just say that LinkedIn is just like every other social media network. If you have the time and you have found that it is a successful venture for your sales team, your recruitment team, your marketing team to make connections with other businesses, then that is just a no-brainer. You got to be on LinkedIn. But if you're not in that facility, if you're an agricultural company that's not making many connections in high tech, or you're not going out there and trying to your sales market are consumer based, you might want to stick to other things like Facebook and Twitter. So there is an opportunity for you to know that time constraints might not allow you to be on LinkedIn. Those are always good things to say. So here, kind of getting into some of the end stages for our webinar here. Pro tips for LinkedIn. Excuse me. Give before asking for favors. This is important. There's a goodwill of community through all the people that are a part of these sites, but it's particularly important on LinkedIn. I always think that the best way is to give recommendations, and then they get the email without having to ask for it. So there's a good moment of feedback, of a good feeling that they've been recommended for something that they've done in the past, and they didn't have to request it. So there's good stuff going on there. Connect with everyone. I don't see that, we talk about this as being a spam feature, but you're not a spam company. You're not a company going out there trying to build inbound links by propagating thousands of profiles. You are a person, and you should be connecting with just about anybody you can when it comes to your professional persona. Of course, you might not want to target people that are outside of your marketing demographic, but if you're a business owner and your market is business owners like ours, there's a great market for people that are out there that are putting their businesses out there, that are putting companies out there. You have the opportunity on LinkedIn to put your company on LinkedIn and list all the services. So there's some great opportunity to sort of connect with just about anybody you might find viable in your business, as a colleague, a friend, someone that you can have support questions go to. I'm friends with my business consultants at the Small Business Development Center. I'm connected to my lawyer, my accountant. All the great pieces of the puzzle are put together out of my LinkedIn profile, and I try to make sure that I share that love with all my friends, that who these people are, by talking about them. Also, we get back to making your interactions personal. We see a lot of robotic posts. I have a good mix. I think it's like a 50-50 mix. Some of the things that I post come from blogs that I follow automatically, just blogs that I trust. But in some, I do take things, and I know some of us have found this webinar because I posted it on LinkedIn, and we are a part of a connection on LinkedIn. So there's the opportunity to go all the way robotic with your post, and they'll tell you that that's probably not the best opportunity for you. Just if you're looking to create some type of content, there are ways to get content to your LinkedIn profile from things like Facebook and Twitter. So you can find a good grouping of what's going to work for you. But every time you send an invitation to connect with somebody, there needs to be some kind of personal attachment to it. Just to speak back on the, connecting with everyone, you do have a throttle that's provided to you by LinkedIn. Most people don't know this, but the only way you actually find out that it exists is because you try to friend 1,000 people in an afternoon, or better yet, in like 10 minutes. You get a great little question pop up. It says, you've tried to friend too many people. Are you sure you want to do this? And then it stops you. There's a throttle. You can't go beyond the number of requests that you've sent. Now, this is true at Facebook. This is true at Instagram. This is true at Twitter. LinkedIn is no different. If you try to get too many connections within too many times, software goes, hey, you're doing this too much. Come back in 5 hours. So you're going to be within the realm. And if you do stick to those guidelines that are given to you, you're going to stay out of the spam folder, and you're going to be more of a real person connecting to a real person. So starting your own community is one of the greatest things about LinkedIn. When LinkedIn first started, groups were the place that you spent your time. The news feed is tragic on LinkedIn. You barely see it because you spend all your time on other people's profiles or in the groups that they're a part of, or you're getting messages from the groups. one of the early stage strategies that was built around LinkedIn groups was that LinkedIn, every time somebody leaves a comment or does something inside the group, it sends a very high quality email. And I say high quality in the fact that it doesn't go in many spam boxes or get caught by many company filters. LinkedIn just wasn't at a point where LinkedIn was a spam generator. But as groups continued to grow, it started getting a less quality put on the email. But it's still a wonderful way to create your community about whatever it is. It could be social media in Columbus, Georgia, and have all the people join it. And every time someone leaves a message, there is a notification generator, which could be toggled on or off, that will allow you to send an email to the entire group every time you leave a comment or create a question inside this community. So you can see that the built-in discussion forum is just an opportunity for you to send messages to multiple people. So starting your own community is a very powerful way for you to use resources to market yourself. And we experimented with some of that in the early stages. So this is cool. Megan had a question. I want to know the best ways to get recognized for other jobs through using LinkedIn. Uh, we talked about in the profile completeness area that you had the education area where you can go back and say, this is my expertise, this is my job history, this is my education. But one of the things that most people kind of browse over and completely miss are the pro tips that I have to share with you right here. Advanced applications promoting your expertise are very cool. I have a very nice Amazon, I think it's called book list, where on my a reading list, I'm sorry, it's right there. Reading list by Amazon, where I can list all the books that I've gone through and recommend them. The cool part about this application is it actually takes my recommendation and posts it to Amazon.com. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm allowing people to see on my LinkedIn profile what my comment was about this, what my recommendation was, and then the opportunity to have this also posted to Amazon.com. You can see you can add Twitter. One of the cool things down right above where we see Megan's question, projects and team spaces. So this is really cool because Many Moon had a software once upon a time and was purchased by LinkedIn. So they have some good connections that have this tasking software available. So you can actually run your projects. Box.net, polls by LinkedIn. You'll see down at the bottom right, I have the Stand and Stretch blog attached to it. So it's very cool. So hopefully that gives you the opportunity to talk about other things that you're doing, recognizing of other jobs through LinkedIn. One of the other great answers to your question, Megan, is the opportunity for pro tips for students. This could also be applying to something that you were trying to ask or asking a question about. For students, they don't have professional history. They don't have 5 years here, 5 years there, 2 years there, 6 months there. But what LinkedIn now offers is the opportunity for you to add experience to their profile that wasn't related to any kind of necessarily job description. So you can see here where somebody's putting into the organizations area that they were part of the Alpha Kappa Psi at the USC. Another down there is a student prize for honor awards. If you look at that column, you can actually see that it has certifications, courses, languages, projects. Do you have any patents? So you can really get diverse in on all these opportunities. I don't know how vain it is to list your SAT or your LSATs or whatever you have out there that's going on, your GPA. You can put that out there, any courses you're currently on. And really that kind of rounds out the webinar, trying to get you guys thinking about a few things. Just sort of a follow-up. Looks like we might finish early, so that's really cool. I don't think we've actually gone over most of them. I kind of flew through this material, but what you'll see here is now our mobile technology today, how to optimize your use of smartphones and tablets, is now live on our YouTube page. It's in full length. The audio is better, as the audio in this webinar is a little better than our first one, but you can also go and subscribe, and I would recommend this highly, to go out there and subscribe to our Stand and Stretch YouTube page, and you'll get a notification immediately when our webinars are published to the public. The really cool part is you'll notice that these webinars are extended. They're about an hour long. This one's going to roughly be about 45, 50 minutes. And the idea there is, you know, we might not have enough time. So you just go visit our YouTube page and watch it and add it to your queue and come back and get pieces of it as you might see fit. So I think that's really cool. And for everybody still sticking around, I got one more poll, and this is kind of just something we're trying to get out of you guys. What is the best time to do a sit and learn webinar? So we're kind of experimenting. I think our attendance is great during the lunch hour, but I've already had some people come back to me and say, "Hey, Lucas, you know, I can't do lunch. I can't ever do lunch. I can never do lunch." So should we be experimenting? Should we try to look for things that are after hours, you know, right before the end of the workday? Because maybe you have to go tell your boss that, you know, I don't want to do it during lunch, but hey, can I do some professional experience learning before or after the workday? So let's see what we got here. So it looks like everybody's kind of cool with lunchtime, which is really interesting. There's a few of us, maybe we start experimenting with some times mid-afternoon and first thing in the morning. I know first thing in the morning is probably going to be me hopped up on coffee, so that might do well. We might get the webinar done in 15 minutes, but mid-afternoon and after hours, those are some good perspectives. So again, you can find our information at sitandlearn.biz. We have the opportunity to present these almost every other week. This is our third one, so it's going pretty quickly. Our next webinar can be found at sitandlearn.biz. We're going to be discussing search engine optimization. I think the title was "The Search Has Just Begun." It's geared at getting information to anybody who owns a website. If you have a business and you have a website, you need to attend the SEO webinar we're going to have, I think, in a week or two. It's going to be geared around understanding how Google and the mighty search engines look at your website. What are you doing to make them better? How are you going to be organizing content strategy? We're going to be talking about a lot of things that go into getting your site found on search engines. So again, thank you for everybody attending. I really appreciate the attendance. I see there's some follow-up questions. I got some great follow-up questions that I'm going to talk to some people about personally and get together with you. But overall, thanks for visiting, and I appreciate it. And you guys have a great afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.